glad to see that this event, this kind of things are regularly happening. And earlier when we started this, I think there was interest, but I think the kind of content, the kind of discussions, the things which we were sort of looking into, they were basic, and I think gradually we are looking into some of these concepts which really matters, and how we can develop ourselves, reorient ourselves, and in actual terms, like where there are problems, what are the issues, how we can sort of develop some practical solutions. I think that's the approach that we're carrying right now, that we should work and develop around it. And I think one more thing which is important that comes on the policy agenda is that what is the current state of affairs in the country. And I think one thing which we are seeing, like post-flood scenarios, हमारे बहुत सारे ऐसे ideas, काम, चीज़ें मुझे देख रहे हैं कि there is a government priority to look into these areas, and then how collaborative, effective and most efficient ways to come up with more sustainable solutions. I think that's what we are looking forward to right now. I think एक जो चीज़ काफ़ी discussions रही, sessions रहे, इस process में गुजर भी गए, especially when it comes to energy conservation fund, जो कि NEECA का एक section 42 company, that is where we are also reviving it. उसके अंदर भी हमने ये देखा कि the financial instruments that are being available, that is sort of not discussed as such. कुछ जगहों पे बातचीत होती है, but in different areas, deeper penetration is not possible. So how we can sort of look into them, develop ourselves, and kind of develop the whole system around it. कि this is how we should move forward. This is how we should work as enabler. This is how we should work together and achieve some of these. So I think आज का जो session is purely designed around that, and I think we are looking into the agriculture sector. हमारी कुछ insurance के ऊपर discussions हुई. अभी I was sitting with the country director, International Water Management Institute, and they also gave me very good insights about कि SECP के साथ there was some preliminary work on crop insurance. But what are the challenges? What needs to be changed? Especially जो laws के अंदर कुछ इन तरह की चीज़ों में क्या ज़रूरत है? I think that is a very interesting case that we have to look into. Askari is already doing some good work around it, but then everything end to end they are controlling it. कि बीज भी उनसे लें, लोन भी उनसे लें, drones will monitor. I think that is another area. I think when we look into these aspects. But overall, why we need insurance? I think that is the question we earlier had, and I think in our societies, insurance mechanism या जो भी interest based जो चीजें, yeah, I think we are always negative about it. कि जी ये तो गैर इस्लामी, हमने तो नहीं करनी. अब जो farmer है, उसको जब ये चीज बताई जाती है, being illiteracy and lot of these challenges, and then वो तो without basic understanding या उसको he accepts it, and later on whatever you do without once fixed, they're not going to change. So I think Islamic financing was a way to move forward in that direction, and that helped. अब लोग अपनी जिम्मेदारी पाक उस जो भी उलमा है उनके ऊपर करके they think yeah, we can do that. So I think the important part is from the financial side that what we are looking into, and I was talking to my team as well, that we have to collaborate. We have to work with SECP, we have to work with the central bank, which we already are involved in a number of ways, to develop some sort of mechanisms around it. कि जिधर अगर आपको religiously there is a space available, let's do some innovation that part. One. I think second part कि जो भी societies के अंदर एक challenge होंगे, I was sort of more interested in this also, this kind of concept of this insurance, like why we are not working, what are the challenges, why developed world is so much into this insurance. क्यों वो इतना ज़्यादा इस system को promote कर रहा है? And you know, the most surprising part, Robert Schiller is a professor in New York. I was taking a short course, ये जो Coursera के ऊपर and all this. And I was taking some other reading, some other stuff, but this was very interesting part, which during all his lectures I was listening as a self-study kind of a thing. So I learned a very interesting thing. उसने कहा कि ये जो insurance है ना, हम ये समझ रहे हैं कि ये this is actually creating a moral hazard. कि जब आपके पास इंश्योरेंस है तो आप ज़्यादा स्पीड से गाड़ी चलाएंगे, आपको पता है इंश्योरेंस है. So a lot of the people in the government, when they sort of try to understand, so they consider it in terms of market failures as a classic case of moral hazard. But if you truly look into that aspect, it's motivation for all of you. It's a way to tell you, to guide you, कि जी आप risk seek करें. Because once you are seeking risk, there is opportunity for growth. हमारी लाइफ के अंदर भी those who are not seeking risks, आप एक जॉब से दूसरी जॉब में स्विच नहीं करना चाहते, you are not seeking risk. Fine, to live with that salary, live with that growth there, whatever you have. But once you are taking risk, it means you are going to the next level. You will learn something new, you will develop something new. So, a lot of things in the Western world we are seeing, it's not the insurance. It's kind of nurturing the risk and then developing our systems around it. So, I think that is important for us. Let's look into the insurance and these aspects more from the growth perspective, more from this angle that how we are sort of incentivizing that people should take this, and that will help us grow in this economy. And I think again the question goes back to all the financial institutions and other agencies who are always sort of investing in the government. They crowd out the private investments, and then we're getting stuck. कि जी वो GDP growth नहीं आ रही, economy overheat हो रही. I think that kind of challenges that we foresee, like we need to develop something around it, like how we can work together. And I think the second aspect which we were very much interested to understand about the REIT funds, like is it the REIT only needed for the commercial building? Can we sort of switch towards the agriculture sector? Now we can sort of develop this. I think this is just like a scratching the surface and trying to look into money to food prices, they fluctuate. We are a very good nation, we always try to eat fresh. But I think in the rest of the world we face this kind of challenges. कि price fluctuation किसी एक बैंड में दो. I was talking एक दफा आपका टमाटर 10 रुपए 20 रुपए, फिर एक सीजन में टमाटर आपका 600-800 रुपए. Why is fluctuating so much? It means post-harvest storage is a challenge. Are we sort of developing something around it? Are these REITs are just for the commercial buildings, REIT for Dolmen and REIT for Image and REIT for this? Why not for the commercial? For some sort of these mechanisms, which is kind of consistently providing this kind of mechanism. So I think the whole idea revolves around a lot of this discussion with the industry's expert, and then how we can sort of look into that, incorporate into our policy systems, collaborate with finance, SECP, private sector industries and other players, and with this we can develop maybe some new areas for collaboration and work and opportunity to grow. But I think with this session actually, I think I'm very much interested to sort of look into this whole part. The experts जो आज हमारे पास, thank you for all being with us. I think this is a purely a learning experience which I'm looking forward to. Like how actually you guys are going to sort of look into, and वो जो concepts को critically देखना और आप लोगों के through इसको integrate कराना. I think that's what I think we're really looking forward, and that will be the fun of the day today, because जब भी कोई नया दिन आता है और अगर कोई अच्छी लर्निंग लेके जाए तो लगता है कि एक अच्छा दिन गुजर गया. And if you are just there, you are not learning something, तो फिर थोड़ा सा seems like not a good day. So I hope this will be a good day of life. and we learn a lot from you. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Sardar Saab Mavish. Pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for organizing this event, and thanks to all of you for turning up here. My name is Rehan Bhatt, and I do inclusive and digital insurance. So seeking risks, right? So that's brilliant. So I took a note from Sardar Saab's talk. So we are. So I was discussing with I think Rizwan Saab before this started that there's a chicken and egg story in insurance that does insurance drive GDP growth or it's the other way around? And you can have your own opinion. My understanding is that actually insurance drives GDP growth. So I've studied few countries and all. So if you have insurance penetration above 3%, then your per capita income is around $5,000 or so, give and take. There would be some exceptions. So, and if you put like seeking risk into the context, so it's actually, if you're seeking risk, you are putting in your capital, your investment, and if insurance is providing you the cushion, only then you will get encouragement of putting in more capital. If insurance is not there, insurance actually is, we'll talk about it in a bit, it's like a bounce back mechanism. So enough of my speech, you will hear more from the insanely talented people who I'm gonna. I'm getting old, I'm like. Then can I request Mr. Khurram Shah, my friend Khurram from NEECA? Ms. Alishba. We don't have Mr. Naeem online. Not yet. Last but not least, Mr. Wazir Zara from SCCP. So while I come over there, join you guys, so can you please introduce yourself briefly, your name and why are you here? What makes you relevant for this discussion? Thank you. Starting from Amar.
Yeah, I'm Amar. I'm the CEO of this entity called National Credit Guarantee Company. Essentially, we provide credit guarantees to the underserved and unserved segments of the economy. And I believe what we're talking about is one of those areas with extremely unserved, I would even say underserved, and basically looking at products.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Khurram Shah. First of all, I would like to thank Sriram sir for providing this opportunity for this important conversation. I'm Khurram Shah and I'm serving as a General Manager at National Insurance Company Limited. And as far as my expertise, I have completed many projects on disaster risk finance and public asset protection. And right now, I am working on innovative products, particularly for the parametric insurance to enhance the resilience in the agriculture sector. Thank you.
My name is Alishba Khan and I am a member of ACC's Sustainability, ESG and Climate Action Committee. Apart from that, I am working as a climate finance expert for agriculture value chain project in Pakistan. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Yasir and I am working for Securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan, and I am looking into the sector which is non-life insurance, inclusive insurance, agri insurance, disaster, motor, and that's how it makes me relevant to this. So I will be here to answer any of your queries, particularly the tricky one.
So let's start the proceedings. So let's first address elephant in the room, right? So all people before we started asked that why REIT? What REIT got to do with agriculture and all that? So let's address that first of all. So how many of you are familiar with the concept REIT or real estate investment? Sorry, yes, you are. Okay, can you?
And I have a REIT management company, which is Nabil RMC, and we have different REIT products. REITs is mainly a fund, which is a closed-end fund. और ज़ाहिर different sectors में different तरह के funds हैं जो इसमें real estate का जो mainly crunch this is mainly to kind of reform the real estate sector and the related industries. So my grandma is not really educated and she will not understand what that is.
So let me start with Amar, if you like. So the challenge we are trying to sort out here, when we started with as Sadasa also mentioned, that it's more of a brainstorming than anything else, right? But we do expect that something important will come out of this conversation. So we're trying to link that, how can, so we have poor credit, access to credit to the farmers. There's almost available insurance. And then, every entity has their own story, their own justification that, why. So, lender think that, it's too risky, it's not documented, blah, 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 and it's too, exposure to the natural catastrophe. Insurers say that, it's too small, I cannot run a big program, and things like that. So, my question to you is that you provide credit guarantee, right? If you have you have all the power in the world, and you have insurance, and you have all these entities on your disposal, what partnership structure would you like to carve out or develop for this situation where 10% farmers have access to the farmer credit, kind of grows to maybe 60%?
Yeah, thank you. I think, literally I was having this conversation yesterday and restructuring a fund, something very similar to this. So, we may be asking the wrong question here. Are we trying to solve for access to finance, or are we trying to solve for higher efficiency and higher yields? So that is the question. If you want to take a REIT structure, you would need scale. You would need a big enough parcel of land such that you can get any kind of scale. So that's the first thing. Which means you need a professional operator. Now when you're doing this, you're essentially saying, okay, you know what, there are 10 operators in the market, let's say small farmers, medium-sized and large farmers, but only one or two of them actually know how to maximize output from that land. So those operators will then have to come in, because ultimately there is public money involved in that and you would want the best returns. So what you need to do is you need to carve out a piece of land, and let's say you've got X number of people who own that land. They become unit holders in that REIT. Once they become unit holders in that REIT, you take some kind of a commitment, okay, you know what, over the next 10 to 15 years, the operator is going to operate on the land, make investments, ensure that water is available, seeds, whatever, bring out the best out of the land, so on and so forth. And it's not going to be just one crop on the land either. What's extremely important for REIT is that it's a mix of multiple crops and orchards. So let's say 40% of your land is roughly orchards, and around 60% you can have multiple crop rotation cycles of various crops. So this is how it operates. And when you bring in orchards in the equation, a typical life cycle of an orchard can be anywhere between 3 to 6 or even 7 years. So that means a lot of cash is coming in. So slowly and steadily that can develop, and it is by year 5 that you really see some returns coming out of it. Like a typical REIT or a typical commercial REIT, developmental REIT for that matter, when the building is developing and it's only over the 4th or 5th year, you actually start seeing returns. The problem that we're facing, a number of commercial players are facing in this right now, is who owns the land. The land will be owned by the unit holders. They will be part of that. So, will the people or whoever owning the land right now, would they want to transfer their land to a separate REIT vehicle? That is the first question. Would you want to transfer your family land or your legacy, whatever land, personal land, to a REIT vehicle and get units issued against it? That is the first problem we face right now. Secondly, you've got a parcel of land which is not really productive, but once you put orchards on it, once there's a lot of rotation, you've got the best seeds in the world operating in them, slowly and steadily that becomes very, very productive and high value land. And in 15 years, the value of that land would be much, much higher than that land without that orchard or without that productivity in place. So how do you capture the capital gains of it? Because REIT, eventually that trust or the investors have a certain life cycle. Let's say 10 years, 15 years, people want out. So how does that capital gain be realized? Who eventually owns that land? So the first question we want to ask is who are we targeting with this? Because your typical small farm, medium-sized farmer is not a target market for this. Yes, maybe you can have some kind of cooperative with 10, 15, 100 farmers, they come together, they create a REIT, identify an operator, accept that they are not the best operators, and then you get the best value out of it. Or you can just run the fragmented parcels of land. So how the structures are there, the innovation is there, the technology is there. How do we solve on the cultural problem or the cultural issue? That is really the question.
So, brilliant, thanks a lot. So I'll come back to you on some point, for example, just to get you thinking about it. So how about so you picked up some very nice points, very important points that about the productivity and all that, the yield and all. So and the land ownership and stuff like that. So the question is that how can some of these problems be addressed by? So we have insurance sitting here. So can they play some role? So I'll come back to you in a minute. But Alishba, you have something to add here on Amar's points that you were talking about the REIT structure and all that. You want to share something on that?
Well, Rehan, I will discuss about if you talk about the blended, structure, climate finance structure blended, which has insurance, credit, and REIT as well. So first of all, we would see that what we want from this structure, if we think about any innovative blended financing structure. We want to de-risk it, we want high returns, and we want to predict the returns. And for that, we need to have, very robust risk assessment, right? So for the risk assessment, if we see whatever is available, what's happening around, or whatever the structure is available in Pakistan, we see some challenges. One of them is the availability of the relevant data, availability of the accurate data, and reliable data. So currently there are platforms, but they are not accessible to all of the relevant stakeholders who are able to provide real-time data. Second, if we see, we are quite behind in terms of technology and digitalization. So that is very important when we talk about the data and specifically the real-time data. So we need to see, some of these challenges. Other than that, very important challenges, one of the challenges is the climate and disaster risk financing tool available for the farmers or any other relevant stakeholder across the entire value chain of the agriculture product or project, or any relevant commodity we identify. So do we have the required climate and disaster risk financing tool available? One. And if available, is it providing real-time reliable data? And third, is it accessible and available to every relevant stakeholder? Like, for example, do the farmer have access to it? Yes or no? So maybe Rehan, the other participants can share real-time some examples from their projects or their organizations on them. So
let me pause here for a second. So I would like us to go back to the fundamental question, right? So the problem we are trying to solve here is that there is a farmer who has limited access to or no access to credit. They probably they are not qualified for borrowing money from a financial institution or a lender, organized lender. Insurance is also not available to them, and they are exposed to the climate shocks. Recent example, we are living through that phase of floods, which used to be once in a 10-year event. Now it's becoming more once in a 3-year event, right? So let's get back to the fundamental question. We will structure our conversation going forward around that, and we'll come back to you, from REIT management company. So we'll come back to you on that. So you mentioned about the capital gains, right, Amar? And you were sharing a very interesting story from Africa that how the rental income can support the REIT based on REIT kind of concept. Generating rental income can actually give a boost to the rural economy. Can you share more about that, please?
Basically, we were discussing the other time on that. REIT is one of the options that we can obviously explore. But once you go to the agri, we have to look into the whole agri ecosystem, the tech ecosystem that would eventually support a REIT because over the last 2 days I was thinking that it is REIT, but Amar would think into it that why not private equity? Because with REIT, the option of REIT is, if I just tell you in a layman, that you can have only 2 types of REITs in Pakistan, rental or developmental. And at the start of any REIT, you need to have accredited investors. So those accredited investors, the high net worth individuals, they pull their money and you go to an agro farm. So on the agro farm, you have 2 things. Either you develop the whole agro farm, put the solar, the tech components, everything, and then you rent it out. And from those rents, you generate income. The second is that you sell that agro farm. And that's how their capital generation, because RMC is not into a business of REIT fund or agro fund. They have to go to a certain person, operator or somebody who would join and say, okay, I will pay you that much rent and I will yield that much, because that rent would be the income for unit holder. If we go into the Kenya and Nigeria, what they are doing is they are not just developing the agro farms, they are supporting through agri-tax. So one of the concepts that I have seen is cold hog.
Insurance, because insurance will be happy to insure it, Kurumbai will share more. And then you kind of like, does that enhance the file of the farmer from credit guarantee money?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. Why? Because the fundamental risk, as Vadidra said, still remains. What seed did you use? What was the quality? So REIT can only give you some kind of a structure for land, that's about it. What are the practices that have been utilized? What are the seeds that have been utilized? What are the, I would say, nutrient, let's say how you apply urea, how you apply DAP, how you apply phosphate, potassium, so on and so forth. All of these things add up, and this is essentially what makes the difference between a low yield land and a high yield land. So all of these things matter, and more importantly, Pakistan, I would say, I may be wrong here, but insurance, crop insurance in Pakistan is not a profitable venture, because A, it's not at scale right now. We don't do it at scale largely because a lot of it is simply informal, and B, even when we go outside to get some kind of counterparty guarantee to do some reinsurance, the costs are very high. So a lot needs to be done more before we can even say, okay, you know what, such and such, so and so crop is actually insurable. I mean, a typical example is slightly out of agri, I would say, is that of electric bikes right now. You go to someone, insurance company are reluctant to insure it. Why? Because they just don't have that experience right now. So someone needs to come in and say, okay, you know what, I'm going to provide this big counterparty insurance. And when the market just takes off, you can do a lot more there. But in terms of agri, it's just a lot too many variables at risk here, and it's just difficult.
You have touched upon a few things. For example, you have said data which were touched, and second is the quality of the seeds and the farming practices really. And then you are talking about insurance. That insurer may not be, so you said that insurer may be checking about the farming practices before they actually honor a claim. So let's hear from our friend Puram here, who represents NICL, that would you be bothered if the farmer, especially in parametric insurance, if the farmer is applying the top-notch farming practices or not to cover the risk of a natural catastrophe?
Thank you, Riyan. First of all, I would like to share some interesting facts. First of all, in Pakistan, just 5% of the farmers are currently insured as compared to 30 million farmers in India, first of all. Second fact is, in Pakistan, where the insurance penetration is less than 1% of the GDP, however, this sector is contributing more 1/5 of the GDP. They employ 40% of the workforce, but unfortunately this sector is extremely exposed to the climate risk. Now come to your initial question. Basically there are 2 different categories of farmers. One, farmers that are gathering or collecting the loans from the microfinance institutes or the banks, while 95% 95% are the farmers that are not backed by any financial institution. So the solution is, first of all, although your question is, I say, it is very relevant for the developed country, but for Pakistan point of view, where the 95% are already underinsured, no doubt any insurance company when it comes into this field, definitely your points will be definitely they address what sort of seeds, what of fertilizer, but practical situation is 95% are the poor farmers, they lack funds. Only solution is, first solution is to make a partnership with the banks. You price your premium with the crop loan. Not only you will protect the farmers, but you will encourage and motivate or give the confidence to the bankers to lend you. This is the first step. Second categories are the farmers that they have no backing, they have no security. You have to meet with the farmers associations, because in Pakistan, in farmers, there are a group of so we can say, just like जैसे अगर हम लोग कहें कि एक एरिया है जहाँ का एक बड़ा है कोई हेड, जैसे कोई चौधरी साहब है, कोई उसकी उनकी कोई लैंड, वो तमाम फार्मर्स को कलेक्ट करके एक एसोसिएशन हो, उस एसोसिएशन को इंश्योरेंस कंपनी टैप करे, उनको इंकरेज करे. जस्ट लाइक वी हैव I would like to share this example that NICL has recently signed an MOU with Acted, that is a local NGO, with InstaFood, and we have tried to tap the Sindh and Balochistan for the parametric insurance. And the concept is again same, they were not supported by, initially they were supported by the international donors, but later on they have to bear the premium, and for that premium, any insurance company have to coordinate with those associations and to encourage them to come up in the insurance.
So just to elaborate more on that. So you refer to some examples. So you never asked as an insurer that what are their farming practices, what seed quality are they using, what kind of fertilizers they are using, right? So you are not bothered about any of that, right? You're not worried about that. So what you did, you said what is the input investment per acre, and this is the risk profile, this much premium I want. If these defined perils happen, the flood or the drought or the bunch of other heavy rainfall and all, I will pay a certain predefined amount of money, right? So from insurance point of view, so we are just trying to solve the puzzle, right? So from insurance point of view, we do not need this to be like super efficient system, which is good, it should happen, but we have to start from somewhere, right? So if we say that we need best farming practices to be put in place, only then insurance can kick in, then maybe we are kind of like running in circles. So insurance is a supportive insurance product, parametric insurance that can actually come into place, even if the farming practices are not up to the mark, but the yield, because of the poor farming practices, are below global average based on best practices. Now coming back to our farmer, remember there was a farmer who has like 5 acres, no access to credit, poor farming practices. They can access advisory through the agri-tech organizations operating all around. Now the question really is that how do we, let's keep it simple. Let's say that there is no REIT, right? There is no REIT. And there is a lender and there is an insurance company. Can that happen? I'll come back to you again, okay? Do you feel comfortable insuring a farmer who you mentioned village elder, Bada association? So let's say the elder is a microfinance bank, for example. We have our friend Abbas sitting here from microfinance bank. Maybe we take your thoughts as well. Would you lend to a farmer who is exposed to catastrophic risk, which insurer is willing to insure, or you will still want credit guarantee to be put in place?
My name is Abbas and I'm head of insurance at Bowling Microfinance Bank. So, as we speak currently, we are lending to such farmers who are prone to such risks. And we do have, since we come under the ambit of State Bank, We do have a credit loss insurance, which we have to have, right? But right now we are working on embedded insurance and link them with our loan products. So for example, we have livestock loan, we have agri loan. So what we do is, agri we don't really need a credit guarantee, although I am working with an insurance company to have a credit loss, kind of like, not in case of a death, but in case of, a calamity where the crop is, there's a loss of crop and all. So the ability to pay back the loan. So I'm working on that. However, the insurance, obviously we would want to have a guarantee that an insurance company can cover that loss. But right now, as we speak, we are getting loans on collateral basis. We give a loan on passport for agri. We also give a loan on basis of gold collateral. So that's a bullet loan. That's not an EMI loan. So at the onset of the harvest of the crop, the loanee then pays the loan. So, and speaking of livestock, you mentioned, I myself am a small farmer of livestock. A certain number of animals, meat fattening. My animals are all in tag and they are all insured. So I've been claiming insurance claims whenever there is a loss of an animal. So that is in place, but it's just that and we also have this insurance for livestock, but we need some structured plans here because there's lack of awareness, and financial institutions generally do not really are lending to such farmers.
Thank you and good conversation. Basically, I'm from BPF. So what I have learned or got an idea that we are still in a discussion of we have these problems. We have this problem, we have this problem, and someone should come. Who is this someone? First question is that, who is this someone? Please, I think Rehan knows that something has to become with a bold mind. I can just give you 2 to 3 examples. Climate risk has 2 to 3 impacts. Just recent floods and before that. We have to see, we know we have the data now, all the people have the data, insurance companies have the data, that what are the events occur when there are vulnerable areas. For example, पिछले 8 साल से सैलाब आ रहा है, अब सब हर किसी को पता है कि जब सैलाब आता है तो ये एरियाज हिट होते हैं और ये क्रॉप्स होती हैं उस टाइम पे. सो बहुत सा डेटा पॉइंट्स ऑलरेडी अवेलेबल है. ओनली आपको करना ये है कि उन डेटा पॉइंट्स के ट्रिगर को एक्सेप्ट करना है और बेस्ड ऑन दैट लॉस क्या होता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल 4 गांव हैं जो गांव इस दरिया के या इस पुश्तों के इस तरफ हैं, उनकी ये पॉपुलेशन है, उस पॉपुलेशन के पास ये क्रॉप्स हैं. So let's go with the community insurance. That's one thing. आपके पास ये भी पता है क्योंकि सबसे ज्यादा जो लॉस अभी जो हुआ है वो होता क्या है, क्रॉप प्लस लाइव स्टॉक. अनफॉर्चुनेटली पाकिस्तान में इंश्योरेंस लाइव स्टॉक का इतना बड़ा सेक्टर है, लेकिन इंश्योरेंस कंपनीज आज तक लाइव स्टॉक को इंश्योरेंस नहीं कर पाई. हमेशा यही होता है कि टैगिंग नहीं हो पाती, छोटे जानवर की तो इंश्योरेंस है ही नहीं. ठीक है. So that's insurance plus the lenders have to come with the NGOs. Let's say there are NGOs working with these communities, तो वो बहुत सा पैसा जहाँ बाकी चीज़ों पे लगा रही है, इसकी एक पायलट कर लें. हर रीजन में, हर गांव में, हर 5 प्रोविंसेस रीजन्स को उठाएं और 2-2 गांव, 4-4 गांव को एक साइकिल चला के देख लें क्या रिस्क आता है, क्या कॉस्ट आती है. सेकेंड थिंग इज एरिया इंडेक्स की आपने बात की. एरिया इंडेक्सिंग पे पायलट हुआ आज से 6 साल पहले. पायलट को स्केल अप नहीं किया गया. पायलट क्या होता है कि आपका लेट से ड्राउट आया तो आपकी प्रोडक्शन पूरी तबाह नहीं होती. लेट से आपको 100% 60% मिला है, आपने कवर करना है 20%. सो रिस्क इज वेरी लो फॉर इंश्योरेंस कंपनी ऑल्सो. आप कह सकते हैं कि जी आपकी प्रोडक्शन 60-50% हुई है, हम 50% को हम कवर करते हैं. और वो इसमें नहीं होती कि जी कैलेमिटी डिक्लेयर होगी. वो ये होगा कि लेट से फरवरी में बारिश अगर हो जाती है दिन के टाइम पे और गंदम तैयार है तो 30% yield गिर जाती है. That's, I think, proven and with the data records.
Is unwilling to jump in. So, Anishba, we were having a conversation before. So you had some thoughts. So we discussed that if you start from blank paper, how would you do this? All of this. So, for example, a partnership structure where credit guarantee, a lender, insurance, and REIT are working together. Any thoughts you would like to share? And then I'll come to you.
Okay, Raymond, thank you for the question. And the point I would from the audience that yes, sometimes there are mechanisms. There are, for example, like livestock, but there is lack of awareness, and we all are not aware what's actually over there. So we also through these sessions or any other virtual platforms or any other way, first of all we really need to work on creating the awareness. Not only for the farmers, but the corporates as well, and the experts as well. So we don't work in silos, and we know what's other organization, other people, other experts they are doing. So one point is that, and secondly, yes, we were discussing about climate and disaster risk financing tools, and we have a question from the audience as well that who will be doing it and when it will be done. So there are organizations, funds, authorities who are working on climate and disaster risk financing tools through different scientific approaches, which they are working on the data acquisition, but that's in process. And of course, once it is done, there are a number of authorities. Of course, Government of Pakistan is working with them, NDMA, NDRMF, and many more. But once it is done, once NATCAT is there, NDMA, the entire structure they have, and they are able to provide the real-time data in the right time. For example, in flood 2025, we already have lessons from flood 2022. So we already know what the economic loss was, what the financial loss was, what were the social impact for that. So we already have lessons learned. So we are aware that what the challenges are and what we need to do. But we faced most of them, and actually maybe all of them during, and we are currently facing during flood 2025. And for that, we need to really speed up what's already there. The authorities or the organizations or the experts or professionals or any corporates that are working on that. So we have to do that. Second, we need to create awareness. Since we just discovered that Moblink, they are working on insurance part and the livestock as well. And one digital platform was also mentioned by you. So NDMA also have launched an app. So maybe all of us are not aware of it, and maybe there are some more digital platforms that is available and accessible to anyone and everyone, and maybe I am also not aware of it. So we also, from our own end, we need to be more aware, more active, and more energetic to know what's happening around in Pakistan, because authorities, organizations, experts, like we are gathered today over here to discuss this very important, aspect, and to see what are the opportunities, what are the threats, and how we can structure it. So, but we also need to be, aware. We need to contribute from our end to in whatever possible way. Coming back to your question, Rehan, what structure we could have. So, as I discussed earlier, we can work on a blended finance structure that could have, REIT, insurance, and credit. But again, the data, as if I consolidate all the information that my fellow panel members have shared, the colleagues from the audience have shared. So we all get stuck into the climate risk financing tools available, and if we have that relevant tools, because tools, and again, like one of my colleagues discussed, the tools for the developing countries and the developed countries, they are different. They have different requirements, they have different indicators, and they have different impacts. So we have to see what we actually require, tailor it according to the needs of Pakistan and the climate crisis that Pakistan is facing. Because the climate change, it is gaining a new momentum in Pakistan. I'll give you two examples. One, flood 2025. It is different from the flood 2022. The areas covered, the way, the intensity and, different impacts that we considered. Apart from that, if I will since we are over here in Islamabad, I'll give you an example of the hailstorms. Islamabad never, had this sort of hailstorms before that we have now. So we also have to see the changing dynamics of the climate change for Pakistan. And climate change is, day by day changing, and we can't control it. What we can do is we can work on the adaptation, we can work on the mitigation, and we can improve our own climate risk assessment strategies and tools. And for that, again, as I discussed earlier, the real-time data. One, we can work on, blended finance structure, and of course, it will be teamwork, and we have to do it in coordination. All the relevant organizations, all the authorities, and funds. And the private sector involvement and investment is, something we really need to think about and work about. Apart from that, one very important point that came into discussion from the audience is that farmers, we also need to, educate them. And specifically, like Sir mentioned about that, the mindset. They don't see insurance as something that would benefit them, and because of lack of awareness. And then again the religion comes in. So we need to create the awareness, and we in the language they understand, and by the person who makes them understand that language and that concept. So and all this discussion is from the lessons learned. Different organizations.
Let me interrupt you. So I think brilliant data awareness, localized solution, and leveraging the solutions which are existing. You mentioned NDMA and all that. But I'll come back to Wazir Dada. So my understanding of the insurance regulation is that it's agnostic of any model. It's simply pretty liberal. So you can develop different models of insurance for crop. It just says agriculture insurance, including crop insurance. So you can have as many models as you want. Second, there was a landmark report on agriculture insurance released by SECP a few weeks ago. Are you picking up as SECP on some national crop insurance scheme? What will it look like if you have some broader strokes available for us? Or do you see any role of agri-tech which are growing and playing more and more role in overall agriculture economy?
Talking about the regulatory framework, it's pretty much liberal. Insurance companies have to develop a product as per their needs and if that gives them a business sense. So there is no approval required, nothing at all. Any insurer can launch an agri product or any insurance on its own need. And those needs, if you give them a business sense, they will go ahead. Agri-tech has a major role at this point in time. We are working at a national level crop scheme, and it's being discussed every day, and it will be launched some point later on, 3 to 4 months from now, or maybe 2 months. And the agri-tech has a major role into it, and we are using Sparko. Then there is another organization, LIMS. They are also giving you pictures. And I was part of the trip which went to the flood site before the flood. And once we asked the people, because there was a community of people sitting over there, and we asked those people, what do you need? If a flood comes, what do you need? At the moment, insurance is structured in such a way, I am farmer, you are MFI, and you insurer. I get a loan from you. Within that loan is insurance built up. So if the flood comes, I don't get anything.
Right.
My loan gets paid off. So the farmer doesn't see anything. So once I asked the farmer, what do you need? And he was sitting over there, an old Baba, and he said to me, "Mujhe 15,000 chahiye." And then I asked him, why you need 15,000? उसने मुझे बताया कि सर, I have to move my family. My immediate need is not the crop, my immediate need is nothing. I have to move family. Survival. So I need something so I don't have to go. So I asked him, if you get an insurance product and just by lodging your claim you get in your wallet 10,000, would you buy it? He said, of course I is the part of need, and then he said remaining insurance can come in the way, the surveyor can come, the claim can be got, it can take 10-15 days, but once they move this, that he can rely on the agri-tax involved. So once those things are involved, then they will be able to give us
Brilliant,
cost.
awesome. I would like to thank you very much. So I would like to touch upon the story he shared about a wood fellow asking for 15,000 to kind of evacuate his family. So there is I'm part of some projects where there is a emergency cash component. So if, for example, a flood comes or there's a heavy rainfall or there's a situation like that, so the program actually triggers an immediate cash payout without getting into the details of surveys and all that, and that kind of helps the family. So I am opening floor for the questions, but before that, I would like to remember our friend Reid, who we had left a few minutes ago. So it's time to bring that.
First of all, I am a student of REIT myself. I am not a very high-end technical expert.
So let me butt in here. So my name is Rehan, but so I like to butt in. So if you are a student of REIT, trust me, you know more than many of us. So please go ahead.
Secondly, I can call myself a teacher of REIT also, because this is what awareness we are creating in the real estate industry. Because this was not a culture mainly in Punjab, this was mainly in Sindh. And this is something we tried, and we are kind of a little bit successful in incorporating this culture in Pakistan, especially in Punjab. So we have registered like different RMCs working in different couple of projects. So REIT, mainly medical education, medical tech side, medical university and that side. Agri is a very interesting subject. This is something where I'm working with in another venture of mine with Saudi organizations, where they're actually trying to train their farmers, and 90% of their farmers are Pakistani. So उनके लिए हम उर्दू सारा मटीरियल कंटेंट और सारे कोर्स मटीरियल वगैरह डिजाइन कर रहे हैं. सबसे पहली चीज़ ये है कि हम फार्मर्स को छोड़ दें, एज माय डियर कलीग सेड कि आप कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर को अगर आप ट्रेन करना शुरू करें, बिकॉज दिस इज समथिंग जिसमें आपको यू हैव टू एंगेज एवरीवन. एक साइड पे जब हम टैक्स की बात करते हैं तो दूसरी साइड पे जब हम कॉर्पोरेट स्ट्रक्चर की बात करते हैं, कंप्लायंस की बात करते हैं, तो कंप्लायंस और कॉर्पोरेट स्ट्रक्चर्स में आने के लिए आपको बड़ा जिगरा चाहिए, especially in Pakistan. So you need to have that courage to come into these structures.
First of all, this is Shoaib Khan, representing the Climate Resourcing Coordination Center, which is a climate finance facility within NRSP. I'm serving there as a senior technical analyst. Academically, I have a background in purely in climate change, agriculture and rural development. So when we were talking about REITs, so I would like to share my experience of a similar nature of project in South Punjab. But before that, when I heard about REITs, it sounds more like conventional, fertilizer intensive, you can say mechanized sort of agriculture, when the world is moving towards regenerative agriculture, green agriculture. So I think REITs is, we are moving sort of, humbly I'm saying, it's going to be another disaster like we brought in 1980s in terms of green revolution, the mechanized farming and all that. The project I just mentioned, we are developing with one of our partners a carbon project in South Punjab, Nurpur and Mankera. Currently we are developing a pilot over there. It's a similar sort of concept. We are leasing the lands. The model is to lease lands from the farmers.
Can you come to a question? Is there a question?
I'm just sharing my experience. So if it's about questions, I'm not having any questions. I'm just sharing my experience.
Sure. All right.
Should I go with it or?
Yeah. Just finish up. Yeah.
All right.
As soon as possible.
All right. So we are, leasing out the lands from the farmers. We are having the 3-tier social mobilization structure of an RSP over there. So we are gaining the trust of the farmers over there. Together with them, we are developing a carbon project through Vera methodologies over there, and agroforestry.
Mansoor Khan is my name. I am an engineer by profession, but as I say, I am a philanthropist by passion. I have focused a lot on awareness in environment and agriculture. Did a lot of work in plantation, thousands of food plants, and also agriculture related areas. Since I am working on ground for the last many years voluntarily, so I would refer to that. एक एग्जाम्पल मैं आपको नॉर्थ की शेयर करूँगा AJK की. Despite lot of awareness sessions and everything, the results are disappointing because pigs have ruined the agriculture. In AJK, you can say that 90% of the committed farmers, they are left farming just because of this pigs issue. So, is there any solution with reference to current session?
The second is livestock, उसको perish हो जाते हैं. Over to you.
One last one.
Sure, yeah, please. I thought there were two here.
There are certain perils that are conventionally insured by any insurance company. Either it's NECA, it's A-rated insurance company. There are certain perils like pest, like mean are the act of God, sort of like floods, and human-made like fire, or in case of diseases, pet disease. These are the general perils that are mostly crop insurance policies provide to any farmers. Right now, losses due to pigs or sort of animals, unfortunately, right now these perils are not available in conventional insurance product. But with the passage of time, it might be. एक सिर्फ मैं इसमें जो बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग बात है जो मैं करना चाहूँगा कि हमने बात की लोन्स की भी, हमने बात की उस 5% 95% सेगमेंट की जो कि अनइंश्योर्ड है. सर ने क्वेश्चन किया था, मैं चाहूँगा उसको आंसर करूँ. आप देख रहे हैं कि अगर हम पाकिस्तान को कंपेयर करें विद इंडिया, their farmers are backed by their governments in the form of subsidies. But right now in Pakistan, our farmers are totally on Allah Pak ke upar hi hai. They are not supported by any sort of government backing. That is the main issue. We can protect those farmers with the help of government, with the help of donors, with the help of risk transferring mechanism. They share a meager amount from their own pocket, remaining portion through government subsidies and through donor association. Until and unless ये स्कीम हम जब तक नहीं लाएंगे, उन फार्मर्स का अगेन कोई भी बैकिंग करने वाला नहीं है. और सर ने जैसे एक्सप्लेन किया कि जो लॉसेस पे भी होते हैं वो लोन की फॉर्म में होती हैं एंड दे वेंट बैक टू दी बैंकर्स. अल्टीमेटली द फार्मर्स उसमें उसको कोई बेनिफिट नहीं होता बिकॉज जितने भी बैंक्स हैं they share us, for example, 20 to 30% from their own pocket, and the remaining 60-70% have to be paid by the farmer itself. So, अगर उनका कोई लॉस होता है तो वाकई में उनको कुछ नहीं मिलता. वो जो 20-30% का एक क्वेश्चन अवेलेबल है जिसको सो कॉल्ड हम क्रॉप इंश्योरेंस का नाम देते हैं, that is basically benefited to the credit to the lender, not to the. So this is unfortunate. Until and unless we make a national crop insurance scheme, that is the initiative of the Security Exchange Commission of Pakistan. NECL is part of that national crop insurance scheme. We have given a proposal to the ministry, और hopefully इसके ऊपर कोई benefit.
Thank you very much. और मैं फुरम साहब की बात थोड़ा सा आगे बढ़ाऊँ कि जो जैसे I've been part of an initiative in Africa कि जहाँ पर wild animal की activity से जो perish होती हैं फर्स्ट टाइम उसका इंडेक्स बनता है. ये चीज़ आएगी यहाँ पर, लेकिन हम अभी बेसिक पे फंसे हैं. हम अगर मैं थोड़ी एनालिसिस यूज़ करूँ कि हम आप कह रहे हैं पिज्ज़ा होना चाहिए, हम अभी हमसे भी रोटी नहीं बन रही, तो हम अभी उधर फंसे हैं. बट कमेंडेबल जो वजीरा साहब ने बताया, प्रोफेसर साहब ने बताया कि ये जो नेशनल क्रॉप इंश्योरेंस स्कीम पे काम हो रहा है, दैट्स कमेंडेबल. अच्छा, लाइफ स्टॉक की जो आपने बात की थी वो तो अवेलेबल है, दैट प्रोडक्ट इज वेरी मच अवेलेबल और काफ़ी सारे मार्केट में ये प्राइवेट सेक्टर में अवेलेबल है, आप एक्सप्लोर कर सकते हैं.
My name is Minhazir and I'm a bachelor student in environmental sciences from International Islamic University, Islamabad. And my question is that given the current situation of Pakistan, that there are floods arising and the rate of increasing is becoming evident. and we're seeing that the crops are being destroyed and they're really vulnerable to the climate anomalies. So my question is that have Pakistan been working on some projects or any projects on weather-resistant crops, like particularly on BT crops?
There are multiple projects which are working on climate smart agriculture, and the drought resilient or the climate resilient seeds are part and parcel of those projects, obviously. So there is one, I think it's either World Bank funded, I think, if I'm not wrong. Currently it's under implementation in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and definitely there will be a lot other in the rest of the provinces as well. So yeah, it's there, but from I think from PSDP or ADP programs, I'm not sure about that, but donor funded programs, there are a lot of them.
Thank you very much.
I'm Usman Amani from Pakistan Poverty Alleviation Fund. I just want to build on a question. Yes, Pakistan Poverty Alleviation Fund is giving training in climate smart agriculture in our various projects in AJK and Pakistan. But a question for the panel is, could there be insurance to encourage farmers in climate smart agricultural practices, specifically to lure in farmers toward climate smart agriculture?
We should talk about the yield estimation and increasing yield. We are still a bit back in that side. We need to develop that sector as well. And also for the insurance, embedded insurance needs to be incorporated as well. So people like who are buying insurance, they should be able to get a couple of livestock as well insured.
Cases because of weather, global warming, political impact and whatnot. Does that actually solve the problem which brought everyone here in the first place, which in my opinion is food security? Because farmer की फसल किसी वजह से खराब जब हो जाती है और उसको आप by an odd chance उसको insurance का claim दे देते हो और उसकी जेब में 4 पैसे आ जाते हैं. How does that ensure that me and you keep getting fed? If you relate that to the growing population in the subcontinent, let's say, let's not go abroad, let's not go globally. इस साल जिस तरीके से हमारे floods आए, it was a complete rampage. For those of us who've actually gone down south and seen what has happened, it is havoc. इतना बुरा हिसाब किताब है कि no amount of insurance can bring these guys back up on their feet. So how is this leading towards that actual problem of countering food security, जहाँ पे हम लोगों ने लोगों के पेट में तो खुराक पूरी करनी है? Because if we take a number of steps back, so as a farmer, the only two things that make sense is soil health regeneration, because जब तक हम अपनी पैदावार की क्वालिटी बेहतर करने की पोजीशन में नहीं आएंगे, no amount of cold storages, no amount of technology savvy, बेहतरीन किस्म के controlled atmospheres, hermetic storages are going to be successful. जब उसके अंदर डालने वाला प्रोड्यूस ही आपका ठीक नहीं होएगा, because our focus is primarily and specifically on ensuring कि यार अगर फसल तबाह हो गई तो फार्मर जो उसकी जेब में 4 पैसे आ जाएं.